Jai Shri, welcome. I hope I'm audible and all of you are able to hear me. Um, so my name is Vikram Shastri. Welcome to today's session. So today is a Sunday. You could be doing any of the many things that you could be doing, yet you're all here. So firstly, our gratitude and thank you so much for the same. Um, as I said, today is a special day that we are going to have this deep dive session, and I will be inviting Mansi ji in just a minute to take over and guide us through today's topic. Having said that, just if at all some of you are new, just for a quick introduction, my name is Vikram Shastri. I represent Vedic Sadhana Foundation, VSF in short, the non-profit that Sri Om Swamiji has created with the hope and intent to revive authentic Vedic practices through technology. There are so many of the esoteric, authentic Vedic practices that have probably be captured in certain books or only certain people who have walked the path know about. It is Swamiji's intent and really his blessing, if you will, to make all of these accessible to all of us in the comfort of our home through apps. Tantra Sadhana is one such app, and as many of you know, Tantra Sadhana is where one can practice the tantric rituals authentically of the Dash Mahavidyas with Swamiji's guidance step by step. If I were to say, as many of you who know Swamiji know about this already, uh, simply quoting from one of Swamiji's blog, a story that he had shared. There was this man who, a guru gives his disciple a sparkling item and says, "Hey, go and find out the value of this item. Don't sell it, but go and find the value of this item." So this man, as many of you may already recall the story, goes to a vegetable seller and asks about the sparkling item. "Hey, what do you think is the value of this?" And then the vegetable vendor says, "I can give you two potatoes for it." And then, as his guru had told not to sell it, he does not part away with the sparkling item, but then goes on ahead and meets a farmer. And he says, "Hey, what kind of value does this sparkling device have?" And then a sparkling item have. And then the farmer says, "Hey, you know what? This looks really valuable. I am ready to part away with four of my cows if you give me this item." Then again, remembering that he should not part and only find the value of this, he goes to a jewelry store in the market. And then the jewelry store owner, being a forthright guy, looks at it and he's stunned. And he says, "Look, I don't even think if I were to sell the entire jewelry store, I'll be able to make up the value for this. And I'm going to check with this." And he calls up somebody much more, let's say, business wise bigger than him, and even that guy says that this item is priceless. Why I quote this example is, as all of you who know Swamiji know about it, he has already given us the sparkling item. All the sadhanas that are there in the many apps that Swamiji has created, including Tantra Sadhana, is that sparkling item, is that invaluable, priceless gift that he has given all of us. And the hope of conducting such sessions is to move from testing one seller to another seller in a way where we discover the value, because they are priceless for sure. But then can we understand the depth of impact that it can have on us by understanding its value a little deeper? So this is a small endeavor to help us understand more about Shav Sadhana, courtesy Mansi ji, who will be guiding us through this session. And we hope at the end your time is worth it. And this unblocks a few hurdles, if you will, a few doubts, and helps us get motivated to do more of the sadhanas that Swamiji has already given us. Well, if some of you are new about Tantra Sadhana and want to know about it, do look at our channel. You will get a lot of content, a lot of guidance, tutorials, and whatnot. And those of you who have started recently, please continue, because as Swamiji says, the only truth is in the experience of anything by our own. So please do experience the app, experience the rituals with Swamiji's guidance. You will see the value and the impact that it holds for your own self. Having said that, let me invite Mansiji. Mansiji, Jai Shri, welcome to today, and thank you for this session. I know you have been burning midnight oil in preparation for this session, and there is also a team that's been burning midnight oil. So gratitude to you and the team. But let's make this time valuable for our viewers. Thank you so much for today. Over to you.
Jai Shri Hari, all of you, and a very warm welcome on this beautiful Sunday morning. So we'll begin with the invocation of Guru. If you have a living Guru, you can connect with your Guru's form. If you don't have a living Guru or you don't have any Guru, you can consider Lord Shiva as your Guru and connect with him. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gururdevo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We'll call upon Divine Mother. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali, Bhadrakali Kapalini, Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri, Swaha Swadha Namostute. First of all, I offer my obeisances to my Guru, who is verily Ma Jagdamba and Lord Narayana for me, and thereafter I offer my pranams to the divine in you, with whose grace we are all here in this moment. So let's get started with today's session on a deep dive into Shav Sadhana. We will be looking at what is Shav Sadhana, why do we do it, what are the different steps in it, and how can we do it in today's day and world. I am Mansi Om and I am a sadhak like all of us here who have joined. I have done this sadhana using the Tantra Sadhana app under the guidance of my Guru Om Swamiji, who's also the founder of Vedic Sadhana Foundation. And I have done a little bit of study on the Shav Sadhana from the core scriptures. And that's why I'm here to share my understanding and little experience with all of us so that we are able to connect with this beautiful practice much more and are able to immerse better in our sadhana. Having said that, our master, our guru, has already walked the path. He has uh, achieved uh, accomplishment and siddhi in all the Dasa Mahavidyas, and he has given us the gift of the guided process already in his own voice, in his own subtle presence within the Tantra Sadhana app. So today we are all here uh, just to be able to understand the practice much better from our learning, from our study, and from our own practice under the guidance of Guru Maharaj. So let us just get started now. So today's session is on Shav Sadhana, deep dive, the path beyond fear and death. So we'll be looking at what is Shav Sadhana, why do we do Shav Sadhana, why do it in the first place at all, what are the scriptural references that refer to this beautiful practice, what are the various examples of historic practitioners. Who are those practitioners who have done this sadhana in the past and over the last thousands of years practiced this and achieved accomplishment in this sadhana? Then how to perform this sadhana is also something that is very important in today's day and age. We are going to look at that. How to approach Shav Sadhana, understanding what is Shamshan and what is a corpse, and a breakdown of Shav Sadhana on the Tantra Sadhana app, how to approach it step by step. We'll try and understand what these steps mean. What does the process include? and the esoteric meaning behind the Shava Sadhana. We will also look at some uh, next steps on how to go about it, and we will also take some Q&A at the end of the session. So let's get started. First of all, what is Shav Sadhana? So, to put it very simply, Shav Sadhana is a tantric spiritual practice in which the practitioner sits on a corpse for meditating upon Maa Kali. Shav Sadhana is part of the Vamachara aspect of the left-handed practice of worshipping Divine Mother, which follows the esoteric tantra and can also be done through divyachara, or the purest form, by internalizing this entire process. This entire concept of shav sadhana can be done as a antas shav sadhana, which is also elucidated in Sri Vidyaranava Tantra, which talks about the inner shav sadhana. Now, why do we do Shavasana is the next question that comes in our mind, where there are so many other esoteric practices available for Maa Kali. Why pick up Shavasana as her Mool Sadhana? So, Shavasana is regarded as one of Tantra's most important and most secretive rituals. And tantric texts, as well as the oral traditions from where this knowledge has been passed on from guru to shishya, all of these tell about the importance of shav sadhana. The purpose of practicing these rituals range from gaining knowledge to propitiating a deity to material motives of gaining the vision of divine mother and her grace, and finally leading to liberation and self realization. So, an aim of Shavasadhana is to unite with the primordial Shakti, which is also called the Kundalini Shakti, lying dormant within each one of us. So, the whole process of uniting that primordial Shakti within us with Paramashiva. From a yogic and tantric point of view, it signifies certain degree of detachment in the physical world, where we don't get entangled while we are enjoying all the worldly comforts, and yet being able to realize our own truth, unite with that absolute um, supreme form of divinity, which is called the Nirgun Nirakar Brahman. And in the tantric Shakta understanding, they are referred to as Lord Shiva and the Divine Mother, or Adya Shakti. So this detachment leads to freedom from samsara. So slowly, as we develop this understanding, this beautiful detachment allows us to see beyond our own, recurring cycles of what the mind brings up and what life throws upon us, to look beyond our limitations, to look beyond our uh, petty problems, to look beyond the small I. And as a sadhak progresses to become an adept, he also goes beyond, these orthodox concepts of purity, impurity, auspiciousness, inauspiciousness. So all this duality kind of dissolves, and the supreme truth shines forth as our own inner wisdom. And the ritual is done using a corpse, which is, traditionally considered highly impure or an inauspicious symbol. But in the conventional mind, that's the idea, that's the picture that is made up. But in the tantric parlance, that's the wisdom that dawns upon us, that this very shava, this very corpse, is that vessel from which everything has gone, and only the pure matter remains, the gross matter remains as reduced ash. So it is the purest vessel. So everything else that we bring up as our sanskaras, as our limitations, all of it goes with the consciousness. When the prana has left the body, what remains in the body is just pure matter. So nothing can be more pure than this vessel, which is just the empty body. And since it deals directly with encountering death, it is believed to lead to non death or losing the fear of death. And it symbolizes longevity, it symbolizes inner power and that inner wealth of wisdom. So the ritual is said to erase the fear of death from the practitioner's mind. And all the texts that talk about Shavasana, all of them unanimously, repeatedly state that for liberation, this sadhana is done for liberation and not for some kind of petty power or some kind of small material gain. Because here we are invoking the Mahavidyas. So you see, we don't bring army tanks to kill a mosquito, right? So that's the idea. For our small little problems and small little desires and small little worldly things, we don't invoke the Mahavidyas. Here we are invoking the Mahavidyas for a higher purpose, for a higher gain. And what is that? To achieve that absolute state of non fear, the destruction of fear, because fear is considered the last veil of Maya. So by confronting death directly, it leads to dissolution of this ego which makes us feel big in the larger universe, that small I, that we become aware of that how small it is and how insignificant it is, and we open up to the presence of a larger supreme power. So the corpse is a mirror of that egoless existence. So the sadhak realizes that this too is I. There is no death for consciousness. That I am that consciousness. I am merged with that supreme consciousness. And for consciousness, or what is called the Atman, there is no death. And that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, where he says that Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantar praptir dhirastatra na muhyati. Where just as the embodied soul continuously passes from childhood to youth to old age, similarly, at the time of death, the soul passes into another body. And the wise are not deluded by this. So the mind then enters into this state of union with the divine. It understands that there is a transient nature of life. And once the ego dissolves, whatever that keeps us separated from this understanding, this perception, and this lived experience of being one with the divine, all of this dies, all of that dissolves. This sadhana leads to mantra siddhi and awakening of the kundalini shakti, or the primordial power which is residing dormant within us. So what happens during death? At the time of their death, the bhuta granthi, or the knot of fear, the last knot of fear, identity, and body consciousness breaks. And Shavasana breaks that knot instantly. It also grants the vision of Divine Mother. It grants the darshan of Mahadevi in her essential formless aspect. So if the sadhak remains completely undistracted, very focused, and there is no amount of distraction or disturbance in his mind, the Devi may come and give darshan as a flash of lightning, which is called Vidyut Rekha in the scriptures, or a form of a shadow, or a form of a sound, or a nad, or a dhvani, or as a radiant presence as Prakasha, or she may also, in some cases, come as Guhya Updesh, where she gives the inner teaching. So Swamiji says Devi's darshan is like getting initiated by Devi herself. And now let us look at how fear holds us back. So we all have fears: fear of what may happen in the future, fear of failing others and ourselves, the fear of what may happen if our worst fears became true. So most of our anxiety stems from such fear. We may read self help books, we may, come across these parables which talk about not worrying, about being positive, about these affirmations, but not all the time this may work. Certainly not all the time. So, is there a way to rise above our fear? See, all of this depends upon what Swamiji says is in his blogs. If you read on, he has written numerous blogs on the fear and the understanding of where it stems from, that it all depends upon understanding the nature of fear, the kind of fear that we have. And some of them are genuine fears. It's not always the mind that is bringing up some kind of a fear. But first, we understand the nature of fear, we acknowledge that there is fear, and then once we understand and we come to the present moment, these fears start dissolving. Because fear is mostly um, of something that we anticipate, which has not yet happened. So, what he says is that minute you are in the present, the fear starts dissipating. There was once uh, a wave, and it feared that it would die when it reaches the shore, and it started asking the other waves, are we going to lose our existence? Are we going to completely die away? So the another wave, which was very wise, it started laughing and it said, we are not waves, we are water pretending to be waves. So that's exactly what we humans also think, that, oh, we are with death, the existence is going to be lost. There is this fear of the unknown, this fear of completely losing whatever we have gained in this life. But the learning here is that the ego is what is fearing dissolution. The consciousness never fears. It knows that we are that immortal supreme self, which is the same as the divine we pray to. And Shava Sadhana teaches this directly as a experience. So again, if you look around, you will discover that most of our life, entire life, we spend in fearing something. Fear of loss, of rejection, failure, of getting old, of not looking good enough, of not being good enough, of not performing well, of always comparing ourselves with others. And then, of course, there are the primal fears of disease, of death, of old age, and finally losing everything that we have ever gained in this life. So now, if we change our perspective a little bit, the nature of fear also changes. This is what Swamiji says. And if you start looking upon death as a mere pause and not an abrupt end, you may even begin to see the nature's beauty in it. And you realize that, see, I can only do so much. There are things that are beyond our control. We can be prepared, we can understand the nature of the fear, and we can also be in the present moment. But after having done all that we can, we understand that there are certain things that must be left to nature or to the divine. And then, with this understanding that there is a higher power which is operational, which is there to take care of us, we begin to understand ourselves better. We begin to slowly move towards higher wisdom and transcend this very fear. So, that is what Shavasana does as a practice. It is not easy to go beyond this kind of a fear by simply meditating or by simply, doing some kind of positive affirmations. So, Shavasana cultivates this fearlessness. All kinds of fear can be transcended by doing the Shavasana, where we are facing our fears head on directly. So, there was a time when Swamiji uh, was in the Himalayas, and he encountered these packs of wild dogs and wolves and whatnot in the woods. And he remembered his conversation with Swami Karunananda, and how he explained to him that going to the cremation grounds, doing the sadhanas there, helped him overcome uh, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the dark. And with that understanding, Swamiji started walking right towards these wild creatures with a lot of love and compassion. And what happened was they did not attack, they did not harm him. Instead, they were there and they just carried on and moved away. So that's the thing here with this sadhana also. It the very basis of this sadhana is that we face the primal fear right in its face, head on. And that's the only way to transcend it. When we start moving towards, not running away from it, but moving towards it by meeting it, by acknowledging it, that's when we understand its nature and develop that awareness. And here it's just about changing this perspective to understand that Maa Kali is Kala Bhayavarani. She is Kapalini. She is Kala Rupini. So she is the one who is that supreme dark from which everything has evolved, and that supreme stillness from which nature got created, and the supreme one in which everything will go back and dissolve into. And she is the one who grants this abhayadan. She is Kala Bhayavarini. So bhay ka varan karne wali. She is the one who can give that grace of going beyond fear. And this sadhana therefore reveals the transient nature of life. It dissolves our ego and finally bestows the grace of Maa Kali. And there are many, many scriptural references to this practice, which is seen in Kaulavali Nirnay, it is seen in Brihat Tantrasar, it is seen in Neela Tantra, it is also found in Kulchudamani, in Krishnananda Agambagish Brihat Tantrasar and Kamakhya Tantra, Kalika Puran, Kularnava Tantra, Brahmayamala, Rudrayamala, Fetkarini Tantra, Kamakhya Tantra. All of these scriptures, they talk about Shavasana in great detail. And these are practices that are followed by the Kaula, the Aghora, and the Kashmir Shaivism traditions. And while there is an external aspect to this sadhana, there is a very, very deep internalization of this whole process. And that internalization is what is captured as a guided process, is given as a guided process by Swamiji in the Tantra Sadhana app. So, you see, in today's world and age, it is very difficult to do these esoteric practices, especially when that we don't have enough guidance, we don't have enough um, people who have walked the path and are there to talk about it um, in real terms, with all the knowledge there, with all the practical experience there. So here we are sitting with a gift, a diamond, which is very rare. And this sadhana is an absolute dynamite because it can break and shackle all the layers of various kinds of limitations and fears that has been conditioned into our minds, not just from this birth but from many, many previous lifetimes, all of that we are carrying, and that causes this default response within all of us of uh, the mind bringing up different kinds of fears. And of course, there are some real fears also. But beyond everything, there is this higher power that is operating in the universe. And that's what the sadhana allows us to tap into. And there have been numerous historic practitioners of this sadhana, right from Guru Gorakshnath in the 10th and 11th century to Ram Prasad Sen in the 18th century to Krishnananda Agambagish. He practiced in the 16th century. Kamala Kanta also, who practiced in the 18th and 19th century. And Bama Khepa in the 19th century again, who practiced in the Maha Shamshana of Tarapit. There are some rishis and sages who have also practiced it, like Rishi Vashisht and Vishwamitra. Then Matsendranath, he was also one of the practitioners in the 9th century. Krishnananda Agambagish was in the 16th century. He was the guru of Ram Prasad Sen. Sarvananda Thakur practiced it in the 15th century. So you see, right from almost, we have a history of thousands years of practice by these adepts who have practiced it and gained the vision of Divine Mother. Trailokyanath practiced it in the 20th century. And Swamiji, Om Swamiji, has also practiced this sadhana in the real world. And it was his vision to do a modern revival of this esoteric practice through the Tantra Sadhana app, where the entire guided process has been given by none other than Swamiji himself. So you see, these are practices which are done by householders and sages and also women. The wife of Ram Prasad Sen, Sharwani Devi, also performed this sadhana. In fact, she got the vision of Maa Kali even before Ram Prasad Sen got the vision of Divine Mother. And it was also practiced by Bhairavi Ma in Kamakhya. So women also have done these practices. It is not something which was restricted to just men and sages doing this. Now, how to perform this sadhana? The how of how this practice is to be done is already answered in the Tantra Sadhana app. So we don't have to worry about it. But yes, there is a certain preparatory phase which we must go through. There is a complete 11-day phase which prepares us for this sadhana. So those of you who are well versed may have already done this, but those of you who are new to Tantra Sadhana, this is just for our little understanding that in this preparation, we are required to chant the Tantric mantra of Maa Kali, of Maa Dakshin Kali, 1008 times, 108 times every day. It just takes about 16 minutes. And this is to be done for 11 days. And it also needs to be followed by one yagya of Maa Kali, one tantric fire offering every day for 11 days. So that makes it 11 counts. So at the end of 11 days, you would have completed 1008 times chants and 11 yagyas. The yagya just takes about 10 minutes. So this is that little time that we have to give ourselves to prepare for the Moola Sadhana, which will be unlocked after the preparatory phase. And this has to be done for 21 days as phase 2 of the sadhana of Maa Kali in Maa Kali's world within the app. And this Mool sadhana takes about, again, 16 minutes. So 26 to 16 minutes every day is what is required. Just that little time to realize our own selves, to realize the presence of Divine Mother, to be able to at least establish that little sweet connection with the presence of Divine Mother. Now, how to approach Shavasana? See, the Kularnava Tantra says that he who is free from doubt and fear is the vessel of Shakti. Such a one is a true Veera. So, this sadhana is to be approached as a Veer, like a Veera Sadhak. And the other requirement of this prerequisite, rather, for this have to be approached as a child is calling out to his or her mother. So, with that Matrubhav, you only can approach the Mahavidyas as a mother. This Shav Sadhana is to be done. So, with this same bhav, Ram Prasad Sen called out his mother, and he was one of a legendary Bengali saint poet, and he was a very well known householder tantric who was initiated into Maa Kali's sadhana, Shava Sadhana, by his guru Krishnananda Agambagish, who is also the author of Brihat Tantrasar. He initiated both Ram Prasad Sen and his wife, and this happened way back in the the 1718, that period of the 18th century. So you see, 200 years back, when the society was far more orthodox, doing these kind of orthodox these esoteric practices in the Shamshana, going in the middle of the night to the cremation grounds, was not very well received, neither by his family nor by the society. In fact, he was banished from the village. And with all those uh, hurdles, with all those obstacles coming his way, there was nothing that could stop him, because he was so driven by his devotion and his yearning and his absolute restlessness for the vision of Divine Mother, that come what may, nothing could stop him from doing his sadhana. And it was not easy back then, when in such circumstances he had to go to the cremation ground in the middle of the night along with his wife, because that was the instruction of his guru, that both of you have to do this sadhana. You have to go in the middle of the night, specifically on the night of Amavasya, Kali Amavasya, and do the Shava Sadhana. So it required them to procure a lot of ingredients. A, that they were banished. B, that they didn't have the resources. They lived in abject poverty. Yet to accumulate all those ingredients, go to the Shamshana Bhumi and perform the sadhana there. And then it was not very easy. The fear uh, uh, plagues everyone. So they were also normal people like us, who entered the sadhana, they transcended the fear, and they performed this sadhana irrespective of what came in front of them. And then finally, uh, Ram Prasad Sen did get the vision of Divine Mother on one of the Kali Amavasyas. With such intensity, he had called Divine Mother. And what his guru told him, that was the only words that kept ringing in his ear, that the mother hides behind fear. Go where fear dwells in the cremation ground. There, sit upon death and call her with the fire of your longing. So this is what propelled him. He went, he practiced on the banks of River Ganga in the place which is now called Hali Shahar. He went there and he did this sadhana. And when Divine Mother gave him darshan, uh, hours had passed. The cremation ground was filled with fierce wind, and he lit up that lamp. The lamp started flickering and it went out, and the only sound that was there was that of his mantra and his own breath, that had united with the mantra and the deity. And if you read the biographical accounts of Ram Prasad Charitram, you will see that, there was storm, and there was thunder, and there was lightning. And then Divine Mother appeared and she asked Ram Prasad, "What do you seek of me?" And he answered, "Only to see you, Ma, nothing else." That was all that he sought. He had no worldly desires. He had no other longing except that he wanted the darshan of Divine Mother. And then Divine Mother blessed him. And she said, "From now on, whenever you sing, I shall hear it as my own voice." She granted him Vaksiddhi. So whatever he would say, whatever he would write, whatever he would sing, that was not Ram Prasad Sen saying. It was Divine Mother's voice from there on. And when he got up the next morning from his sadhana, he found himself seated on a corpse uh, that had turned into ashes, and there was just bare earth. But his entire being was overflowing with this bliss of having united with Divine Mother. And the testimonials of that time, there was this king, Raja Krishna Chandra, who said that there was a remarkable difference in the way Ram Prasad Sen's poetry itself changed after the vision of Divine Mother. And he said that Ram Prasad Sen no longer sings of Maa Kali. Maa Kali herself sings through him. And what he says is so beautiful. If you read some of the poems that he has written in Bengali, he says, Shamshan priti jabe Maa Kali, tai koriche mon Shamshan. Meaning that since you, Ma, you are fond of the cremation grounds. So I have turned this heart of mine into a cremation ground so that you, a dweller of the cremation grounds, you, Shmashana Vasini, you may dance here in my heart unceasingly. And mother, I have no other desire left in my heart because the desires have burnt away. This heart has become the Shamshana Bhumi. That was his bhav. Here the flames of funeral pyre burn within me. The fire of the pyre resides inside, O mother, as if inviting you to dance in that inner space. So such was his bhav. See, this heart itself has become that cremation ground where the ego has gone, the desires have got burnt, and only this one longing and this bliss of being one with Divine Mother is residing because she is the one who's dancing within you. So he had awakened to this reality, to this supreme truth. And now let us look at, what do the scriptures also say. So Kalika Puran specifically says that the sadhak, who is the supreme among the yogis, when he begins the Shava Sadhana in order to behold the supreme form of the goddess, he must remain fearless and unmoving. So, those are the two prerequisites. We have to approach this sadhana in the Veera and we have to approach this sadhana as a child calling out to the Divine Mother. Now, let us understand what is Shmashan and what is a corpse. So in Saundarya Lahiri, Adi Shankaracharya says, Shiv Shaktya yukto yadi bhavata shakta prabhavitum na che devam devo na khalu kushala spanditum api. Meaning, even Shiva cannot move, he cannot cause any spandan. Not even an inch can he move without Shakti. He is Shava without Shakti. When that E goes away from Shiva, Shiva becomes Shava. So in this sadhana, the dead body or the corpse is not some remnant body of some being, but it is seen as Shiva himself. And when Bhagavati puts her feet on Shiva, Shakti unites with Shiva. So that union of Shiva and Shakti is what Shav Sadhana leads to. And all of this prakriya, all of this process happens at an internal level, at a level of our own consciousness. So now let us look at why Shav Sadhana for Maa Kali. So as per Fetakari Tantra, there is a verse which says that seated upon the corpse, the Veera meditates upon Maa Kali in her true form, and then the goddess appears to him as his own pure inner radiance. So why Maa Kali is invoked in Shavasana? Because she is Kali. She is the devourer of time. Kala means time, and she is Kali, the one who devours time itself. And she is invoked because she rules the cremation grounds. She is the one who grants instant fearlessness. And she appears in a fierce form in the Shamshana. She represents Kala Kala, the death of death itself. So when there is no death, what remains is absolute truth and absolute fearlessness. Again, Kularnava Tantra says that in the cremation ground, contemplating upon the goddess who removes fear, the Veera, established in fearlessness, attains the supreme state. So that is why Maa Kali is called upon in the cremation ground to do the Shava Sadhana. Now, breaking down Shava Sadhana on the Tantra Sadhana app. It begins by creating the funeral pyre. So the Veer Sadhak trains himself to be absolutely indifferent to fear and sits upon, begins by creating this entire funeral pyre. We can go back a slide back and switch on the sound.
Ang Shraddhaya Namaha, Ang
One slide back.
Pritaya Namaha, Ing Ratte, Ang Shraddhaya Namaha, Ang Pritaya Namaha, Om Mandukaya Namaha, Om Hring Kamarajaya Namaha, Om Kling Kandarpaya Namaha.
Okay. So here, when we are creating the funeral pyre, we begin by invoking and worshipping the five Kamadevas. The five Kamadevas are, the forms of Manobhavai, Mandukai, Kamarajai, Kandarpai, Manmathai. So they are invoked along with the five seed syllables of Kameshi. Now, why Kamadev and Kameshi are invoked? Because it is this very desire that has created life. So Kamadev and Rati, the process of union of a male and a female leads to creation, and that's how life comes to be. So these energies are invoked because here we are using the body as a vessel to rekindle that life force energy, which is none other than the primordial Adya Shakti. So, Ma form as Kameshi, and uh, Kamdev's five forms along with the five seed syllables Ring, Kling, Aing, Bloom, Stream. They are used to make this invocation. The next invocation is
Ang
done.
Shraddhaya Namaha, Ang Pritaya Namaha, Ing Ratte Namaha, Ing Bhutaya Namaha, Kantaya Namaha.
So this next invocation is done for Rati Adi Pujan. So there are 16 kalas of Kamadev and there are Rati Priya Yakshanis also. So there are 16 Rati Priya Yakshanis, the Shraddhai, Prityai, Ratyai, Bhutyai, Kantyai, Manobhavai. So these are a combination of 16 kalas of Kamadev along with the Rati Priya Yakshanis that are called upon for rejuvenating the body, because it is just like the sun has, the moon has 6 solar colors, the sun has 12 forms, the Dwadash Suryas. The energy of Kamadev and Ratipriya also have 16 solar colors. So these are energies that are first invoked because they bring life into form and they rejuvenate this body to carry that life form. The next
Aing
invocation.
Hring Shring Aing Jang Bloom Klinne Sarvani Bhagani Vashmanya String Kling Bloom Bhagmalinya Namaha Aing Hring Shring.
So this next invocation is done just before lighting up the pyre, and it is made with the Ashta Shakti Matrika mantra of Ma Bhagamalini. She is one of the Nitya Yoginis, and she is revered in the Shakta and Tantric traditions as the goddess of the great garland of fortune made of flowers and jewels. And she represents the role of offering protection, bestowing blessings, and spiritual fortune as per the Parshurama Kalpa Sutras. And goddess Bhagmalini here is specifically invoked because she blesses us with the confidence to shine our light and manifest our dreams. She is the Kriya Shakti which manifests life. She brings everything into a manifest form. So now you see, from the subtle layers of energy which create life force, then it rejuvenates the vessel, and now that gross matter needs to manifest before it can even take some form. For that to happen, that Kriya Shakti has to start getting activated. So this last offering just before the funeral pyre is lit up is done with Ma Bhagmalini's Shakti mantra. The next is
Om Hring Sphur Sphur Prasphur Prasphur घोर घोर तर तनु रूप चट्ट चट्ट प्रचट्ट प्रचट्ट कह कह बम बम बंद बंद घात्य घात्य हूं फट.
So in the next process, the corpse is laid on the fire. So all the necessary materials for Veer Sadhana, like, fish, meat, jaggery, goat, wine, bada, various kinds of fruits, various kinds of herbs and ongoings, all of these are collected. These materials are brought to the cremation ground, and the Veer Sadhana, with a very fearless heart, with a courageous heart, he enters into the sadhana. So a non-purified pyre is not considered suitable for Veera sadhana. So we do not perform Veera sadhana in a pyre unless it is purified by sprinkling water. And then in quick session, a series of steps are done to prepare the body, and then it is laid on the pyre. Before it is laid
ओम पृथ्वी त्वयाधृता लोका देवी तुम विष्णुनाधृता.
Just hold on. Before it is laid on the pyre, again the Shakti of goddess and Lord Shiva as Bhairava is invoked, and this is done by Lord Shiva's Aghor Sudarshan mantra, which ends with the seed syllables Hum Fat. Why is this done? Because it protects us from all the negative energies that may be surrounding. So the very first thing that is done immediately after laying the corpse on the pyre is the chanting of the Lord Shiva's Aghora Sudarshan mantra, which is what you heard on the screen some time back. The mantra which begins with Om Hring Sur Sur Prasfur Prasfur Ghor Ghor Tar Tanu Rupa Chatta Chatta Prachatta Prachatta. So that mantra is Shiva's Aghora Sudarshan mantra. It sanctifies the space for sadhana, and adding that seed syllable Hum Pat at the end of the Mool mantra is done so that you are completely in a protected space. The entire sadhana area, that zone, is completely protected. The yoginis, Matrika Shaktis, Bhairav, and Guru, all of them are invoked, and there are again a series of 3 mantras ending with the seed syllable Hum Fat after the Shiva's Aghora mantra that are chanted, and the appropriate corpse for the sadhana chosen by Maa Kali herself is then considered to have been laid on the pyre. And the corpse is now considered to be in an intermediary stage, which is between death and migrating into another realm. So it is a transmigrating soul. So it's not completely moved out. That is why the next step is done. For that, first of all, asan is made of a Vyagra charm or a tiger skin, and it is spread out on a pitha or a sacred pedestal, and Prithvi Pujan is done. So that we thank Mother Earth, we worship Bhudevi for giving us a stable ground to perform our sadhana, and we invoke her Shakti for successfully completing the Shava Sadhana. So here the next step is
ओम पृथ्वी त्वयाधृता लोका देवी तुम विष्णुनाधृता.
And now we begin the Kapalik Puja after the Prithvi Puja is done.
Ring ring kalike ghordanshtre prachande chandanaike.
So before practicing the sadhana, it is important to ensure that a suitable place which is free from any kinds of other entities or other spirits that may form an obstacle or a hindrance in the process, they are all removed. And for this, Kapalik Puja is done. So Kapala here means the human skull. And why this Kapala Puja is done before lighting up the pyre? Again, this is done to acknowledge that the corpse is a sacred vessel and not some mundane body. So in Tantric cosmology, the corpse is at that moment before cremation, when the boundary between the gross and the subtle world is very thin. Unless the kapala is is broken and the prana moves out of it, the the cremation has not taken place. That's the understanding. So Kapala Puja is performed to ritually transform this body from a personal remnant of an individual into a symbol of Maa Kali and Bhairava's domain, where the time and the ego has dissolved. So the Kapala symbolizes that impermanent nature of life and the emptiness, and the skull here is considered as the most potent symbol of shunyata or emptiness. And the Maran Tattva, the principle of death, is symbolized by this skull. So performing puja to the skull before the pyre is lit acknowledges that A, that this body is impermanent, B, there is dissolution of the body identity, and this acts as a doorway between material and transcendental experience. And in Tantra, honoring the skull is honoring the truth of impermanence, which is the foundation of Shav Sadhana. So it is written even in Yogini Hridayam that for sacrifice, various kinds of ingredients are required. Shamshan is a combined term which is used for meat and fish, then jaggery, goat, honey, black urad dal, mustard seeds, kheer or payasam, which is called a paraman, and grains, various kinds of grains, rice, wheat, barley, milk, fruits, roots, herbs, durva grass, pusha grass. All of these are collected and they are kept in sacred sacrificial vessels. And then the skull is placed right in the middle of the asan, and offerings are made into the mouth of the skull with the recitation of the Veerarchan mantra. And this is done for self-defense, for protection, and removing of the greatest of obstacles that may come. So if you would have heard this mantra, the mantra says, you can play it.
हुं हुं ह्रीं ह्रीं कालिके घोरदंष्ट्रे प्रचंडे चंडनायिके.
So Ghordanshre Prachande Chandanaike. So Ma's fierce form is called upon. Danavana Daraida Hana Hana Shabavire Mahavignam Chedai Chedai. So the greatest of obstacles that may come, oh mother, keep me away from all of it. So that is why this Kapalik Puja is done in the very beginning, that we are invoking Divine Mother's protection, we are invoking her presence, and we are telling her, oh mother, whatever greatest of the greatest obstacle that may come, please protect me from it. So this mantra is, again, it is called the Veerarchan mantra. It is done for self-defense. So you see what is happening right from the beginning. We are building these layers and layers of protection or kavacham before we even enter into the core practice. And the next mantra that is chanted is
ओम अपसर्पन्तु ते भूता ये भूता भुवि संस्थिता ये भूता विघ्नकर्तारस्ते नश्यन्तु शिवाज्ञया.
So this is a pranayam mantra as per Shama Prakaran. And what does this mantra say? Apsarpantu te bhuta, ye bhuta, bhuvi sanstita, ye bhuta, vignakartaraste nashyantu shivagya. So in 4 directions, we are placing these 4 vessels with the different kinds of offerings of durva, of kusha, of mustard, and of urad dal, surrounding the skull on that asan. And by chanting this verse and invoking the presence of Shiva, we say that with Lord Shiva's agya, with his command, all his followers who are the bhutas, pretas, pishachas, and other Shivganas, may they depart, because it is Shivagya. Who can give such a command? Only Lord Shiva, because he is Bhutnath. So the tradition of reciting this verse to expel any kind of spirits and entities is adopted both in the Vedic and Tantric methods. And after this, it is understood with this understanding that anything that could ever cause any kind of obstacle in the practice, all those entities have gone. So one should know what is the kind of bhav that here we have to have. One should know and feel for a fact that now we are in that state of union with the revered Divine Mother. Apart from her, I have no existence of my own. Rather, I have completely dissolved my body consciousness, my presence as as a being. I have merged with her. With this bhav, we have to move forward in this sadhana. And one should remain absorbed in this feeling for some time before venturing further, because this has to seep deep within our consciousness and be established as an understanding that the indestructible form of the divine protection is acting as an armor, is completely protecting my physical, mental body and my sukshma sharira. So there is nothing absolutely to fear about. So with that bhav, with that veer bhav, with that understanding that my mother is here protecting me, we move forward. So you see, this is there is this preliminary requirement of faith that is absolutely non-negotiable to move forward in Shavasana. And faith is an absolute term. It is either there or not there. There is no midway, halfway, little faith, more faith, nothing like that. It is either there or not there. What does faith mean? Faith means like a baby monkey clinging on to mother monkey. So she may move across branches, she may jump here and there, and yet the baby who's clinging to its mother knows that I will not fall and I will not be harmed because my mother will not let that happen. So, with that same feeling here, I am protected by my mother. I am one with my mother. I'm clinging on to her. She will not let any harm befall upon me. With that bhav, a sadhak is sitting alone in a cremation ground, ready to perform the Shava Sadhana. So now with this same mantra, this pranayam mantra, the 4 offerings from the 4 sacrificial bowls are made with durva grass, with kusha grass, with mustard seeds and urad dal in the 4 direction. And then with a set of mantras, again these are protecting mantras that end with the seed syllable fat. 3 times they are chanted, and the frankincense gum resin, which is called Google, that is placed inside the mouth of the skull for purifying the space with its aroma. So that prepares the ground, and the next step is to light the lamp.
Om Tatpurushaय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात्. Om कालिकाय विद्महे शमशानवासिन्य धीमहि तन्नो घोरे प्रचोदयात्.
So now again here the lamp is lit with this mantra where we are calling upon Agni Dev to light that knowledge of light. So this sadhana is very, very esoteric. Every step has a deeper meaning. What does it mean to light up a lamp inside the mouth of a skull? This skull, which is containing all our thoughts, all our fears, all our samskaras, it is here in the mind. When the lamp is lit in the skull, it means that the light of knowledge, the light of wisdom from the presence of Divine Mother lights up our understanding, and we awaken to that higher knowledge. So may that darkness go away. May the dawn of wisdom light up my consciousness. With that bhav, we light up the lamp in the skull's mouth, and we chant the Gayatri mantra of Lord Mahadev and Maa Kali. So Lord Mahadev is invoked as Lord Rudra on the path of righteousness, lighting up our lives, guiding us on this path. And Maa Kali again is invoked with her Gayatri. Now, Gayatri is a mantra universally which is chanted for, it acts as a catalyst to awaken that inner light, that inner knowledge. So that with that idea, the Gayatri mantra of Mahakal as Rudra and Maa Kali as Kalikai, Shamshan Vasini, the one who is residing in the cremation ground. May such divine grace always guide me on the path of righteousness. So with that bhav, we further move into the sadhana. So here the core ritual begins. So the
Om
sadhak will
Lanindraय Suradhipataye वज्रहस्ताय ऐरावतवाहनाय सपरिवाराय सायुद्धाय नमः।
So
ओम लांगिंद्राय सुराधिपतये मम बलिम गृहन् गृहन् गृह्णाप्य गृह्णाप्य विघ्न निवारणं कृत्वा मम सिद्धिं प्रयच्छ स्वाहा।
So what has happened here? Now we, as a sadhak, we take our meditative seat on the corpse as a Veer sadhak. So the Veerasan is, like you mount on a horse. In the same way, the sadhak mounts on the chest or the stomach of the corpse and begins the sadhana with a series of Shodashnyas and invoking the Dashadikapalas, the guardians of the 10 directions, and the 64 yoginis. So these mantras that you have heard just now, Om Lam Indra, it goes on with Indra, Agni, Yam, Nairitya Kon again is invoked, and Varun Deva is invoked again as the Jala Tattva. Vayu Kon again is activated. Kuber is activated. So in all the 10 directions, the Dashadikapalas are invoked, and we are asking them to accept the sacrificial offering, which is called the Bali. Now, Bali again here is not about killing some animal. The Bali here is an internal offering, an internal sacrificial offering. It is done by offering vegetarian offerings and herbs and asking these energies, the Dashdikpalas and the yoginis, to accept them and grant the practitioner mantra siddhi or perfection in the mantra. And the corpse seat is again worshipped by the practitioner with this bhav that while I am doing these nyasas and invoking the Dashdikpalas and the yoginis, all these sacrificial offerings, one by one, I am dissolving all the limitations. I'm offering everything that comes as a hurdle in the path of me meeting my mother. With that bhav, we proceed. So,
ओम
all
हुं
that we are saying.
महाकाल भैरव हुं फट। ओम काल रात्रि महाकाली कालिके घोर निस्वने गृहाणे मम बलिं मातः देहि सिद्धिं मनुत्तमां स्वाहा।
So again and again, all that we are saying is, even in the previous stage, that may my Bali be accepted, may they grant me mantra siddhi, and together they may offer me protection from all the negative energies. So once again, the Shiva's Aghor Sudarshan mantra is chanted for protection, ending with Hum Fat, and Mahakala Bhairav is now invoked. So sadhak does a japa of the protection mantra, worships the corpse head by making the core offerings. Again, these are vegetarian offerings of herbs and other seeds and grains into the mouth of the corpse, invoking Mahakala Bhairav and Maa Kali as Kalika Devi in her most fierce form as Kalaratri Mahakali. Now, what is this Kalaratri? It is the darkest of the darkest night. And she is Mahakali. She is the one who devours even the darkest of the dark. So we are now calling upon Mahakala Bhairav and Maa Kali as Kalaratri Mahakali to invoke their protection through these mantras, asking them to accept our sacrificial offering and again granting us accomplishment in this sadhana. So that is the prayer. Again and again, throughout this sadhana, you will see there are layers and layers and layers of protection that is being invoked. So you see, this is a sadhana which is acting at a very deep subconscious level. There was this man who had entered a cave with a little candle, and when he lit it, the darkness fled. But he started chasing darkness deeper into the cave. So no matter how far he went, darkness was always ahead of him. And then he got exhausted. And then he went to the sage who was sitting there near the cave, and he asked him, now what do I do? No matter what I do, this darkness is always a step ahead of me. So the sage told him, see, you are trying to defeat darkness by chasing it. Just place this light within yourself. The darkness disappears everywhere you go once this inner light is lit up. So that's the idea here. The learning is that we cannot run away from fear. We can only illuminate it. We can only become aware of it by the higher knowledge, the higher understanding. And that awareness is what is going to dissipate this fear. This is what exactly this Shav Sadhana does. So at every step, I may be doing something which looks very, very dreadful. Being sitting there all alone in the middle of the night in a cremation ground, surrounded by various kinds of entities, various kinds of wild animals. Here I'm sitting alone, offering making these various offerings right into the mouth of this shava, which may even quiver, it may shake, it may move. So this can cause enough terror in the mind. But it is not by running away from this fear that we'll be able to conquer fear. It is only with that understanding that here I am sitting with the protection of my mother, with the protection of Mahakala Bhairav and Maa Kali. And there are layers and layers of protection at every point. All the 10 directions are sealed. All the divine entities that can help me in this sadhana are invoked. All those who could possibly cause a hurdle have been asked to leave. With this understanding, I am proceeding into sadhana. Now begins the
Om
next
Hung
step.
Bhutanath Shamshanadhip Hung Fat.
So offerings are again made into the corpse's mouth for sacrifice or bali that is offered to the Lord of the cremation ground, who is known as Shamshan Adipati Bhutnath, who is Lord Shiva, asking him to accept the sacrifice and grant siddhi or accomplishment to the sadhak. So, Om Hum Bhutnath Shamshan Adip Hum Fat. That is the mantra. And again, Maa Kali as Kalaratri Mahakali is called upon. So, one by one, again and again, we are calling upon Lord Shiva and Maa Kali. And the same bhav, the same prayer is made to them. Please allow me to be always in this protective shield of yours. Please accept my offerings. And then
Om
once again,
Durge Rakshani Swaha.
the Veerarchan mantra is once again chanted, again requesting for the removal of hindrances on the path of achieving success in this sadhana, seeking the protection once again in all the 10 directions. So you see this continuously, you will be hearing these mantras, the same mantras which offer protection. And finally, at this point, if the sadhak has not yet received the darshan of Maa Kali, because she may not reveal just yet. It will take time for this consciousness to mature into that understanding, to feel her presence, to be united with her. So she may just not give darshan immediately. So if darshan has not happened, at that point, the sadhak chants the Jai Durga Kavach Bij mantras of Ma Durga with mustard seeds 10 times, again in all the 10 directions and in the corpse of the mouth, and gets off the shava. So this mantra that you heard, Durge Durge Rakshani Swaha, this is chanted again for the protection before we get off from the corpse. And again, all dangers will
Yatraprathe
be warded off.
Balitwain Dattavyam Kunjaradikam. Dinantre cha dasyami swanam kathasva me.
So now the sadhak asks,
Brave
who are you
seeker
that I
of
have
Maa
been
Kali,
praying to
I am
every
the
day?
essence of all beings, living and dead.
So the sadhak is asking, please reveal yourself. Who are you that I am invoking? Who is it? Who is this energy that I have been calling upon? And then the corpse replies, because Shakti is awakened. So don't look at it as like some dead body waking up and answering. It is Divine Mother now united with Shiva. So this Shava has become Shiva and Shakti united. And that form is replying to that Veer Sadhak, that she is Kali, the essence of everything living or dead. And then at this point, the sadhak tells her to prove to him that she is Kali. He says that Tvam Kali iti satyam kuru. So at that point, one may receive the divine vision of Maa Kali. And it may come with a lot of inner divine understanding, inner radiance, and feeling the presence of Divine Mother within us. It also comes with a tangible boon within the Tantra Sadhana app. That boon can be put to a, a wise use for our own well being and our loved ones. So let's look at what is the esoteric meaning of this Shava Sadhana. The corpse here represents the ego, the fear, the attachment to the material world. All of the sanskaras that we have been carrying. Sitting upon it means mastery over one's mind and illusion. And all of this sadhana that is done physically is actually also done at a deep mental level. And that is why you remember, you can recall Ram Prasad Sen saying that my heart has become the cremation ground. This very body becomes cremation ground. You see, there is nothing to fear anymore because I know that I am deeply protected. I am one with my divine mother. I'm calling upon my mother. What is there to fear? And once that consciousness has become one, the sadhana becoming successful and the Devi giving darshan and speaking is representative of awakening of the divine consciousness within us. So that is the esoteric understanding of Shava Sadhana in very simple terms. So here then, death simply becomes a doorway to fearlessness. What is it that is dying? We are not dying. This body cannot go from one realm to another realm. The consciousness moves, the body is dropped, but nobody is dying. So, this understanding becomes a lived experience, and that is what brings in that absolute state of fearlessness. And the whole cremation ground is nothing but a space where our own desires, our own limitations, our own fear, psychosis, all of it is burnt down to ashes. So when this heart becomes a cremation ground, Divine Mother appears here, she dances here, she lives here. So a quick recap to just see what we have seen today is what is Shav Sadhana, how Shav Sadhana, why to do Shav Sadhana, how is Shav Sadhana done, who are the historic practitioners and the references in the scriptures, how to perform the sadhana. This is taken care by the Tantra Sadhana app. We don't have to worry about these steps or the sequence or the method. All of it is available there as a guided practice. All we have to do is gather that sentiment, be in that bhav, and appear there for the sadhana in utmost surrender and with absolute faith. And how to approach this sadhana is what we have seen as a veer, as a child of Divine Mother. And we have understood what is Shamshan, what is a corpse. We have understood how this practice is to be done within the Tantra Sadhana app. It is already there. We have seen the meaning of the different steps today as a breakdown within the app. We have also seen the esoteric meaning behind Shava Sadhana. And now we will look at some of the questions that mostly come in our minds. All of us here will be receiving a small PDF with the topics that were discussed in today's session, because this will help us recap our understanding and enter into this sadhana with a better understanding, with more immersion, with more bhav, so that once we are able to garner this bhav, that is the most important thing. We will be able to experience the sadhana at a completely different elevated level. I have personally done this sadhana. People in my family have done this sadhana through the Tantra Sadhana app for 21 days. And all of us have had our own individual experience of feeling the presence of Divine Mother. So it is only when you do this sadhana, when you give yourself this little time, invest in your own practice that you will be able to reap the benefits. And even if you have crossed the realm of Maa Kali, you see, it takes time. We have gathered all this conditioning in our mind from lifetimes. It it has taken so much of time to be there. So it will also take a good amount of time to slowly move out of our system. So it cannot happen maybe in one practice. So it is highly recommended that even those who have completed Makali's world, at least every day, spend that 16 minutes to do the Shav Sadhana. You can partially awaken Makali's world and do this sadhana every day, because it takes a lot of time, layer by layer, slowly, for the the ingrained fear and this restive tendencies of the mind to break down and move out of the system. So the next steps, if you have unlocked Makali's world, please perform at least one round of Shavasana every day, beginning from today. 19th of November, just 3 days from today, is Markshish Amavasya. It is an absolutely amazing, ideal, powerful day to begin and perform the Shavasana. We must not miss this date. Again, every Tuesday, Saturday, Amavasya is an ideal day to perform Shavasana. Even if, let's say, we have missed some day, try that every Tuesday, every Saturday at least, and every Amavasya, we go back to Maa Kali's world and do this Shavasana at least once, for those who have already crossed Maa Kali's world. And those who have not yet started the journey, there is no better time. Right away, at this moment, in this time, please scan the QR code that you see on the screen, download the Tantra Sadhana app, and begin Maa Kali's sadhana journey. If you want any further support in how to navigate through the Maa Kali's realm, or how to go about the practice, and if you face any kind of hurdle, there are numerous videos that have been recorded to aid your practice, to help you with the navigation. You can access all of them. You can even write to us at serve@tantrasadhana.com .org, sorry. And probably okay, so it is serve@tantrasadhana.app. You can write to us in case you face any kind of hurdles. Now, there are some few common questions that come in our mind. Can a householder do this sadhana? Absolutely, yes. In the past, there have been many householder sadhaks who have done this sadhana successfully and achieved the vision of Divine Mother. Ram Prasad Sen and his wife were one such couple. Kamala Kanta was also a householder who did this sadhana and achieved perfection in it and gained the vision of Divine Mother. So, yes, all householders can do it. My entire family has performed this sadhana through the Tantra Sadhana app. So, there's absolutely nothing to worry, no doubts to allowed to be cropped up here. Everybody can do this sadhana. Should we listen or chant the mantra? So, in the beginning, it is recommended that we listen to the mantra because it's in the voice of Om Swamiji. It is an awakened mantra. And the guided process is given along with the mantras within the Tantra Sadhana app. All you have to do, this is the most important thing, is now with this understanding what these steps mean, what does this mantra mean, we know that what is happening in various levels. We just have to garner our bhav, we just have to gather that sentiment and remain in that understanding that yes, I am invoking these energies, I am being protected, and it is Divine Mother that I am invoking to unite with her, to feel her presence in my own self. With that bhav, with that veera bhav, that there is absolutely nothing here to fear about. When my mother is there with me, what is there to fear about? With that bhav, I approach this sadhana, because only when a sadhak remains undistracted throughout the sadhana, the scriptures say he is granted the unalloyed vision or darshan of Divine Mother. The next question that plagues our mind is, do we know need to know these mantras by heart? Absolutely no. The guided process is available in the app along with the transcriptions of the mantras. They are available in Hindi, Sanskrit, and English. All you have to do is connect with the mantra, be with the energy, garner your bhav. You can chant if you want, you can chant along mentally. And slowly, as your practice deepens, you may even learn the mantras, but there is absolutely no need to by heart these mantras. Next question is, if there will be a influence of any negative energies on me after I do this sadhana? Absolutely no. Because you see, with this understanding today, all that we are doing again and again, again and again, in every step in this sadhana is we are calling upon Lord Shiva as Bhairava, Mahakala Bhairava, and Maa Kali as Kalaratri Mahakali, again and again, in various forms of Lord Shiva as Bhutnath, as Shamshan Adipati. All that we are invoking different forms of Lord Shiva and Maa Kali to give us that protection. In layers and layers of protections are established within this sadhana. So where is any scope left? There is no corner left. Even the 10 directions are locked. There is no scope for any negative energy to even penetrate this zone. So where is the question of any energy causing a negative influence? Absolutely no. Because you see, Swamiji himself has curated the process. So he, having done the process himself in the real world, having achieved Siddhi in it, he will never give something which will cause any harm to anyone. So there is the grace of the master, there is the grace of the entire Guru Mandala once these mantras are invoked. So there is absolutely no question of any kind of doubt here. Is it safe to do in the home? Yes, absolutely safe to do in the home. I have done this sadhana myself in my house very successfully. There was one of the most beautiful experiences of Divine Mother's presence that I felt, along with all my family members who have done this sadhana using the Tantra Sadhana app. And you see, Swamiji has done this sadhana. So receiving it from him is a absolute rare gift in today's day and world, where you see we would not have been able to do this sadhana, most of us, by our own self. That to get the process, an authentic process, right from someone who has walked the path, who has done the sadhana himself. B, to go to a place like a cremation ground all by ourselves. 3, to get all these ingredients. It's very difficult in today's world and age. You see, even during the times of Ram Prasad Sen, it was such a mammoth effort to gather that courage and to gather the resources to do this sadhana. So the app is not just some kind of a digital tool here. Yes, it is a tool that is enabling the sadhana, but the sadhana is happening at our own deep consciousness, at the level of our deep consciousness. So the sadhana doesn't happen outside. The sadhana is not happening in the app. The sadhana is happening here. It is happening here in our heart, in our minds, in our own consciousness. The app is enabling it in today's world and age, and it is such a blessing, because otherwise we would not have been able to do this all by ourselves. See, again, Sri Vidyanava Tantra itself talks about doing a antas shmashanas shavassadhana, where this very body becomes the corpse. This very body becomes the place of the cremation ground. You see, why do we have to even fear? Because when this understanding comes that it is my own fear which I am burning here, that is why this is the cremation ground. Now, what is the best time to do this sadhana? Well, any day is a good day, but as we have already seen that the Tuesdays, the Amavasyas, the Saturdays are best days to do this sadhana. 4.5 hours, which is one prahar after sunset, is considered to be a good time to start the sadhana, can be done throughout the night. And there are certain Amavasyas which are considered very, very powerful, and the app again notifies such days. So those are the best time and the best days to do this sadhana. Okay. You see, most of the time when we get such questions, what if I am scared of death or cremation grounds? It is just the chatter of our mind. So, once again, a man entered a cave and he shouted something. And his words tend to, boomerang and echo and come back to him much louder and much scarier than it could ever sound. And he ran out absolutely terrified. And then there was this, again, a sage sitting outside. And he said, that this cave has amplified your voice. Your mind amplifies your thoughts. And then the monk added that you called the echo a demon. It was just an echo. So that is what the mind does. It brings up these thoughts. These are pure, empty thoughts, as Swamiji has said in his book, A Million Thoughts. It has no presence. So every time you feel this idea, it is just your mind which is bringing up. All you have to do is drop the thought like it's hot. If you were to hold a hot tawa, a hot girdle, you would immediately drop it. You would not like to hold it and keep getting burned. So, in the same way, the minute such a thought comes, just drop it. Because it's just a thought, it has no existence. Only when you proceed with that veera bhav, with that courage, when you are ready to face it head on, will you be able to go beyond this sense of scare and this fright. And the last question is, I get uncomfortable dreams sometimes. What should I make of it? See, dreams again, they are nothing but our own, subconscious mind bringing up the thoughts to surface, whatever we have been thinking of over and over again throughout the day, or maybe, some past baggage. All of that coming to surface is what the dream is about. Again, I would like to recall that there was this parable where um, a sage took his disciple to a graveyard, rather a cremation ground, in one of the grounds in cremation grounds in uh, Kashi. We went to this Manikarnika Ghat, and there were a number of chitas which were burning. And the guru asks the disciple, okay, now tell me, which of this burning pyre is that of a king, which is of a poet, which is of a thief, which is of a sadhu? Can you identify, please? And the disciple looks at his master and says, no, I cannot tell. And then the sage replies, then remember, identity is dust. All these labels, all these titles that we carry, all these ideas of who we are and what can happen to us, all of these are just mere words, mere labels. It is absolute dust, it is ash. But awareness, that is eternal. And when awareness lights up like a diya, there is no room for any darkness. There is no room for any of these dreams. Unless a dream, Swamiji says, is coming repeatedly again and again and again and again, we should not bother about it. We should not try and make any sense of out of it. Now, again, when I say this, when the mind knows that, okay, if something is repeating, it will start repeating the dreams also. So most of these times when you get these uncomfortable dreams, there is nothing to make out of it. It's mostly our mind which is playing rogue. So you see, there was a warrior who would carry this heavy shield everywhere with himself and believing that this shield is protecting me, this big dhal that he would carry. It was very heavy. And one fine day it dropped. And then he realized that his back straightened up, his speed increased, his vision widened, And then he asked his guru, what was this shield protecting me from? And the guru replied, it was only protecting you from discovering your own strength. So the learning here is that, we build our psychological shields, which become our own prisons. The mind becomes our prison. And only by doing sadhana, the Shav Sadhana does exactly this. It removes all of these prisons. The locks are all unlocked. The mind opens up. The vision widens. The perspective changes. And that is what is the gift of Shav Sadhana. And it's again like eating apple. No matter how much I describe that it is sweet, it is juicy, it is nice, it is round, it is red, unless you eat it, you can't feel the taste. So you have to do the sadhana to reap the benefits of it, to feel the presence of the divine that we've all been talking about for so long. So I think with that, we can conclude and take some questions if there are any from the audience.
Thank you so much, Mansiji. In the interest of time, we have picked up some questions from the sadhaks who have attended today's session. I will relay them to you. One of the question is, can we do this sadhana if somebody had passed in the family or some birth has taken place?
See, this sadhana, as I said, we are doing at a manasik level. So all sadhanas that are done mentally as a manasik sadhana can be done in the Sutakkal, whether there is a death in the family or there is a birth in the family. Now, here again, we should remember, we are doing this sadhana to go past the fear of death. And here we are calling upon those energies which are activated at that time of transition. So rather, it will aid and help a transiting soul if after the sadhana you just pray and offer the benefits of your sadhana to that Atma which is making this transition, to the soul that is on its journey onwards. In fact, rather than not doing the sadhana, it is more beneficial that we do the sadhana and we offer our well wishes and we offer our uh, the energy that we have received from this sadhana as a helping aid to help this energy body move forward in its journey. Again, our scriptures say when a soul is entering the body, when a child is taking birth, we must always chant mantras. We must always do our sadhanas. So this sadhana doesn't require you to go to any temple. It doesn't require you to go to any cremation ground. You can sit wherever you can find time. All the time that you need is the 16 minutes, somewhere after 4.5 hours of sunset in the night. You can, I think, even in the middle of someone taking birth or someone transiting from this earthly realm, we can still take this time out. Instead of breaking our practice or pausing our journey, we must continue our sadhana uninterruptedly as much as possible.
Thank you, Mansiji. I think this already answers one more question that came forth, which is, can one do this sadhana during traveling or while they are at office, probably?
Of course you can, because you don't need to go anywhere. All you need to go is in your mind, create that bhav, enter into your own Shmashan Bhumi within your own heart, call upon Divine Mother. Just one small secured silent place is what is needed to go into that quietude, because only in that quietude, only in that stillness can you feel the presence of Divine Mother. That is the only requisite. The requisite is to have that Veer Bhav, the requisite is to have that faith, the requisite is to have that discipline to continue your sadhana uninterruptedly. Wherever you are, you may be traveling, as long as you have internet connection, you can open the Tantra Sadhana app, log in, go to Maa Kali's world, do the sadhana. Even if you are in the office, the 16 minutes, you can excuse yourself in the night, and this is to be done at the night. Even if you have night shifts and you're working in your workplace, 16 minutes, take a break, go to some secluded, quiet corner, do your sadhana, come back, and go on with your affair for the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mansiji. So one last question. Some of the mantras in the sadhana, like Spura, Spura, Paraspura, Shiva Gaur mantra, can one chant it outside of the app for seeking protection?
Not really, because see, they're done in a certain sequence, and this sequence is a set of systematic steps that are given in our scriptures. And if you just open up Brihat Tantra Sar, for example, one by one these steps are elucidated, so there is no variation in the sequence, because it is designed to invoke the energies in a certain manner and cause that layer of protection, prepare the space, your mental mind space for the sadhana. What you can do is the last bit, the Durga Raksha Kavach, can be chanted anytime for protection of Divine Mother. Don't get into chanting the other mantras with the slightly complicated beej mantras, because they are again done for a specific purpose, in a specific order, in a in a very systematic manner. It's like you want to prepare cake. There is a certain recipe. So I cannot say that I will just take the dough and I will start eating. No, you will not get the same effect as eating a baked cake. Something like that. But yes, you can always take some nuts out of the top and still have them just like that. So the last mantra that is there, the Durga Raksha Kavach, can be chanted uh, any time of the day for protection.
Thank you, Mansiji. And just one final question, like what kind of bhav can one induce before sitting and doing the sadhana? You already mentioned the Veer bhav, you already mentioned the Matru bhav that should be there. How do we kind of increase this, if you will, every time you sit for the sadhana so that we can take the best out of it?
Swamiji has written in his blog, one of the most effective ways of tackling fear is to personify that fear, give it a shape. So there are sadhaks who have done this in a very beautiful way, mansikali, where they have personified their fear. Think of whatever is causing whatever kind of fear in your mind. It may be a petty fear, it may be a very grave fear, it may be a primal fear, whatever that fear may be. Give it a shape, give it a form. Imagine having a pedestal. That pedestal is that chita. Draw that form out mentally. You may not do it on a real pedestal. Do it all mentally. Visualize this before your sadhana. Now, this is what I'm going to sit upon, and I'm going to mount upon this fear, and I'm going to ride upon this fear, and I'm going to conquer this fear. Because, not because of me, because it is my Divine Mother's protection that is always there with me, who will rise up like this awareness in my consciousness, give me this understanding which is preventing me from conquering this very fear. So at the end, when the pyre burns down, your fear also burns down. So this is a very effective method. I personally also practiced it sometimes when you really don't know what to do. No amount of talking, no amount of affirmations are ever going to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mansiji. I think we have come to the close of this session. So, firstly, thank you, Mansiji, and thank you, the team behind this session. But most importantly, thank you all the sadhaks and devotees and users of the app who are here, who have watched this for more than 1.5 hours now. It really means a lot. And please do give us your feedback. We are trying our best in a way to bring these sessions to you so that it helps you move through the sadhanas that Swamiji has already gifted us with in a way where we don't, create ourselves as the hurdles. So we hope that this rekindles that fire of wanting to perform the sadhana. And please do give us your feedback, and we will have many more sessions coming on like this, which are the deep dive sessions where we'll go each step to understand how Swamiji is guiding us through the app. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day ahead, and see you when we see you. Jai Shri Hari.
Okay, I'll just quickly do the closing chant.
Yes, please.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much. We'll see you all again.
Thank you.